I'm very transparent with people too. Like because it has to come from that energy source. It can't be like, all right, this is a tactic or skill. After she signed up and she really just went from, I don't want to be here to, oh, this is amazing. I'm actually excited about this, where she like, we call it like opening it up or popping up, or Tony Robbins will call it like getting in state. And I asked her, I was like, hey, like when you first came in, I got the impression that maybe it was one of those days. And she was like, yeah, I didn't want to come. It had nothing to do with you, but this is new. But then you guys sent me texts about like how we're going to help and reminders. And she said, you know what? I'm a woman of my word. And that just pulled me in.
Amazing.
It was like
accountability.
It was accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah. So it was the psychological component.
You reminded her of like, as a person, like I always show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by you nudging it without pressuring her,
yeah.
Hey, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she's like, what is going on? Some people kindly need those reminders.
The fine line is figuring out how much pressure to put on them. And I'm always asking for permission, like, because I really wanted to, it shouldn't be me versus you. It should always feel like this collaborative, it's us versus the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like,
beautiful.
It's like, I look at it, I'm Sherlock Holmes mixed with like a psychological Sherpa. And I'm guiding you. And it's like, and so learning that skill is really important. So I'll ask permission, and I'll ask them like genuinely how they're feeling.
Yeah.
So there is a part of it, mostly a Socratic method. But what I've also learned, the big thing is having 2 ears. So it's listening to as well. And letting people know you're actually, hey, I see you, I hear you, giving them space, but not buying into their limiting stories. So that was one of the challenge. And I think that's the difference between like empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
I would take on their energy sometimes, and that would not allow me to like navigate things well too.
Like you have people that go in there, they're like, okay, I'm interested, but I can't do this. Like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Like that you said, that intimidation factor.
Yeah. And so right off the bat, I want them to like, that's why I do tell that story, and it's a genuine story. I wrote a book, and that's like on how to really get people to get out of their own way. And that
was this a personal book or for everyone to read?
It was for everyone. So I'll give it to members. And so it's an interactive book. I'm like, all right, create awareness of what's going on. Like, what are the shackles that you think are on you? And learn how to like break those shackles and be accountable. But early on, I would get people to join just based off like confidence and arrogance. I'd be able to do stuff, and that doesn't work with everybody. Like, not everyone needs that approach. So the other thing I started learning about is different archetypes. And so you would have like the sage archetype. You would have the warrior, and these are from other people I've learned from. I haven't made these up at all.
Very role-playing.
Yeah, I'm in the role-playing. I love role-playing. That's another subject. So you have the archetype of the sage, the warrior, and sometimes they need the warrior.
I was always picking the wizard for some reason.
Dude, wizard is awesome, dude.
Like sorcerer or warrior was my 2 options.
I am reading a book on a wizard right now too. That's hilarious. And then you also have the lover vibe too. You have the friend vibe. And then also going through when I have to be a little bit more of, like superior. And I don't mean that as like we're not equal, but where it's like, hey, I'm the expert. I'm calling you out on this. And then being the friend, where I'm like, I'm here to hear you. And then there's times where I'll go lower and I'll like, hey, like that's freaking amazing that you're here after everything you've been through. Like, I'm really impressed by that. Like, have you always been that way? That's something you've learned over time. And so like, I want to go through all these different psychological fields to see what they need, because like sometimes we need different buckets filled. So that goes back to your, question about being a specialist versus a generalist. I used to be only a specialist at just confidence, arrogance, of course you're going to sign up. Look at all the results here. And then I had to diversify and be like, all right, this person needs a little bit more compassion. This person needs to be heard a little bit more.
Because every individual is different.
Everyone's individual. That's the fun part about it.
Exactly.
Too.
Going back to sales, something I've learned through making music, getting clients, is that you have to have this value.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid to put that value to themselves. Because, for instance, hey, you could be an hourly rate in the three figures, $100 or more.
Yeah.
Or you could be a $20 an hour person.
Yeah.
In the eyes of society, who is the more valuable person?
It's obviously the one that charges more and gives more to as well.
So if you have the same skill set and you want to try to get more clients at $20 or $100, don't you want to just be seen as the more valuable person? And a lot of people are afraid to put that sort of price tag for themselves.
I can relate to that a lot, actually, because especially in my market too as well, I pay attention to my competitors, right? In COVID, 5 of my competitors went out of business. I'm not happy about it, but business is war. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't sad about it, right?
Yeah.
Wish them well. I was aggressive with everything. I was still spending money. I gave out thousands of dollars of equipment. I drove around to all my clients, gave them all the equipment. Immediately pivoted to virtual. Mm-hmm. Doubled down on accountability, doubled down on calling too as well. And then, we survived. We were profitable the entire time. And then I look at my local market, affordable coaching, affordable classes. I don't want to be affordable. I want to be the one that you have so much skin in the game that your friends and family look at you and say, you're not the same person. What's going on?
Yeah.
And that was one of the barriers I had too in the business, because even though I knew I was at this level and it was because people would tell me it wasn't manufactured, right?
Yeah.
I had this barrier, and this is why it's so important to have coaches. And I was like, even asking for the sale or the money, I remember feeling this thing in me. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn, it's like, what I do literally makes people happier. They have better sex. They have better life. They're better with their kids. And so I actually had a coach, I'll show him this, and he pushed me. He was like, your prices are too low, dude.
And at the time, did you think they were expensive?
My mind frame, which was a little warped, was I wanted to compete on price, because everyone is saying, all right, we're this price, we're this price, and this price. And then I had to flip the script. I was like, wait a second, this is true. I know my competitors, they're great. Everyone's fairly decent. Yeah. But why do we have people stay with us for 2.5 years? Why is our retention rate here? Oh my God, we're undercharging. The other thing, and so I trusted him. I said, look, you're my coach. I believe if business is war in a good way, mm-hmm. where you have to have generals and advisors around you. Mm-hmm. And I want people telling me where my blind spots are. I don't have an ego about it. I have a coin in my pocket that says ego is the enemy. So I remind myself about this. And he said, look, your prices do damn low. I'm like, you know what? You're my coach. I'm uncomfortable. What do you want me to do? Double the prices. He says, I want you uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, you're my coach. I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. I'm going to beta test it. Boom.
Revenue. Did you lose clients?
The complete opposite. My headaches went away. My revenue shot up. My margin shot up. My headaches went away. Because what I started noting, and don't get me wrong, I had to really dig into the sales process and really dig into the psychology of people. Yeah. Like deep. Like there's a surface level, there's the action level, there's the identity level, and it's my passion. And I had to figure out, all right, it can't just be about fitness. That's the surface level. Like fitness is just an excuse to walk in the door, but like, what do you really hear? What's it's affecting with you too? But what I noticed, I started doing pattern recognition on my clients. I went through every single one scouting report. What's their personality like? How long they've been with this? Oh, the ones that give us a headache, that complain all the time, have the cheapest memberships. The ones that are an absolute pleasure to work with, regardless of their situation, go through trauma, losing a husband, XYZ, never an issue. And then I had one of my original mentors give me a book. He's like, oh, yeah, you need to get rid of your C clients and D clients. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, they're draining your energy, right? I'm like, yeah, they're draining my energy. And so to answer your question, that was like when had that scared about going from audio to the video, I had that same internal, like, I'm freaking uncomfortable. Like even me asking this and then coming to that realization, wow, the people that want the cheapest price are the biggest pain in the neck. No judgment on them as a human being.
Exactly. No, I go through that.
Yeah.
Because I have people that hit me up asking me for my rates.
Yeah.
And I tell them there's certain older clients that's grandfathered in, and I build personal relationships.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you're grandfathered in at the cheaper rate.
Yeah, I do that too.
But if you're recommending other people, I'm going to charge this amount.
Yeah.
And then they contact me. They have a quick conversation. They're like, well, I could go down the street to Billy Joe's studio and they're only charging me for X amount. And like, and you know what my response is? Please go to Billy Joe's studio.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I will actually turn people away from my gym.
Yeah. And it's not me being a dick.
No, not at all.
But it's like you said, you're getting rid of those headaches.
They're headaches. And I stole this joke from somebody else. I didn't get it from me. I didn't make this up. When somebody, the first question they ask is like, how much? I'm like, whoa. I'm not that type of girl. You gotta buy me a drink first.
Yeah.
And you know, if you get people to laugh, but when people are just focused on what they're giving up and what the transaction is versus what the investment is and what they're getting, that's a huge difference. So I created this like red carpet policy. I don't want to work with transactional people. I just don't, because it number one, it's surface level. I'm bored by it. I want to actually have a meaningful conversation. Like when I walk into my place, I want to be able to look in someone's eye and be like, hey, how you doing? We had somebody like going through some major stuff and she's still showing up.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's a haven.
It's a haven. It's a safe spot. And they're getting out of their head and in their body. And so I will actively, it's hilarious. And sometimes I wish I can record these conversations, but they're like, you're recommending me to your competitors? I'm like, yeah, they're fairly decent. And they are kind of on the cheaper end, you know, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I'll let them know, hey, the people that get the best results, that are the happiest, that are the most fulfilled, that are no longer dabbling, that can brag about being somebody who gets results, this is the mindset that they have.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about them, but I am talking about them. And they have every right to feel that way, but I also have every right to say, I don't want to work with you. And obviously I say it in an elegant way too as well. But it also helps when we have clients there. I don't meet with anybody solo. I always have other women there. I have other clients there, because the best sales is just happy members of your community.
Exactly. If I'm a potential member and I'm watching the room,
yeah,
and all I see is nothing but happy other members, this is a place where I'm going to want.
Yeah. Dude, I get goosebumps sometimes from it. Like when there's somebody and one of my favorite things is when somebody comes in and they're skeptical, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Dude, I own a gym for about 15, 16 years, and I travel around the world. And even when I go in the gyms, I feel it. I'll go in, I feel at a different level. You know what I mean?
So you scout other gyms?
Well, you know, because I like to work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to Portugal in like 4 weeks.
So you're not just not directly scouting, but you just because you like to work out.
I need to work out.
And obviously you're a gym owner, so you're going to notice nuances.
I notice the nuances, and I can tell very quickly, just like you, if you walk into a sound studio, you can hear certain things. You're like, oh, he doesn't know about this, and
or how the staff is,
or how the staff is. So I can tell. I can't tell everything, but if I walk into a gym or a coaching facility, or if I'm aware of like a competitor, or I go to the website or some of the things they talk about, I'm like, oh, fairly decent. They're at this part of the journey.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I don't have anything to worry about. I'm just being aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, like you walk into a video place and you're like, oh wow, this is off. This is off. They're trying their best, but they have all these blind spots too as well. The best coaches, the best gyms in the world, they're leading with psychology.
And the fitness game is total psychology.
It is. Yeah.
Because it's like you have to endure all that punishment.
Yeah.
And for you to want to endure all that punishment, you have to be like in here. It's kind of going back to that sales thing, like in value. I had a funny story. My friend was at a gym playing basketball, and I gave him one of my Stife sweaters. So he walks into the gym wearing Stife.
Yeah.
And had an older client that I recorded. He's like, you know Stife? He's like, yeah. He's like, and that guy, the other guy that saw my friend wearing the sweater, he's like, Stife knows what he's doing, but he's expensive.
And that's a good thing.
And when I heard that, it was like, I liked it because I wanted to create this value in what I did. Yeah. I'd rather be boutique at this point in my career than cookie cutter, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, and the cookie cutter, it's soulless. And
because you're giving your energy.
You're giving energy away. And
you're giving a little bit of your time.
Yeah.
And time is so valuable. So value your time. Get rewarded for your time.
Get rewarded for your time. And it feels good. And there's I classify certain of the people that I come into my life as like the people that add to the energy, that are neutral. They don't take it. And then there's people that drain it.
Yeah.
And I know the people that want to pay more and sometimes are uncomfortable or sometimes our best clients because they take it seriously too as well. And so if anyone has that mentality, like it's expensive, I'll just let them know. It's like, hey, just let you know, the clients that look at this as an investment, they're smarter, they're more successful, and they have the results that most people want.
Yeah.
And the people that look at as an expense, well, we know what they get. And then I'll ask them, I was like, it's like, which camp are you in? You know, so I'll kind of put some of that pressure on them.
That's psychology.
It's psychology. And I genuinely mean it. Like, I'm doing it for them, not to them.
Yeah.
Because I've had mentors, like one of my coaches, he was like, your prices are too low. Dude, I know all these people, you're doing things that nobody else is doing on the psychological component with accountability. You're not charging enough. And then again, what happens?
Did you consult with a psychologist, or is this something you kind of just figured out through coaching?
It was
mentoring.
Yeah, it was through mentoring. I'm constantly I spend like, dude, like each year I'm spending at least like 10,000 or more. Jesus, even more than that on coaching. I'm going to events, so I'm doing Tony Robbins stuff. I'm going to all these other coaching courses, psychology too as well.
Yeah, my friend just went to the doctor that talks about affirmations.
Is that Dr. Esposo or something?
Yeah, Joseph's.
Joe, I want to do his stuff. His stuff sold out. I love his
And
stuff.
he was skeptical, but at first he's like, oh, it's a cult.
Yeah.
When he was there, after 2 days, he's like, I'm a fucking believer.
Yeah.
And I've always been a believer of affirmation. You know, if you're not telling yourself what you need to hear, like, you got this, why do you think professional athletes are talking to themselves in the mirror,
Yeah.
are just like hyping themselves, like doing, like hitting their head,
100%.
whatever, like
Yeah.
doing the King Kong chest
Yeah.
thing, or yelling like, let's go,
Yeah.
or whatever they
Yeah.
are there in the football huddle doing this, whatever it is, that's affirmation.
Absolutely.
With them, or if it's a solo, or their teammates, if it's a team sport, they're telling each other that they will succeed,
Yeah.
that we will win.
Yeah.
Why aren't people doing that for themselves?
Yeah.
Too many people go in this rabbit hole with doubt.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. No, no.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it feel better just telling yourself, I can do this? Even if you failed, you learn something. Try again. You're gonna fail. And by the 10th, 20th time, you're actually starting to get a grasp on things.
Yeah.
And then after 10,000 hours of doing it, you're like almost master level.
Yeah. You're going through these iterations too. And you know, one of the things that kind of screwed, like in a good way, when I started not necessarily seeing the ones and zeros and stuff, but this is what you learn with some of the people that do that. You know, when they beat themselves up and they go through these thought loops of like hell beating up, it's an energy.
Yeah.
And they create like an identity around it. So like, woe was me. And what I've noticed, it can be selfish at times, right? And everyone goes through stuff. So like I give people grace too as well. But I think some people aren't aware of the pattern. They don't have the skill set of the pattern too as well. And part of it is it actually gives them an identity and energy source. It's like a psychological drug to them too as well. That's not good for them. And again, that's part of the passion with that. I've been to Tony Robbins events, like I've walked on fire twice. And so
Were you skeptical?
I think it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism, right? But I think there's functional skepticism and there's dysfunctional skepticism. And so like when people walk into my place, have functional skepticism, but not so much skepticism that you can't even take a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a common, was I a little skeptical? Yeah, of course. But I read his book before and I met so many people that said, you got to read this book. And I remember reading that book and it was like a game changer. Okay, I'm going to his live event. And I was definitely skeptical, but just like your friend, 6 hours in, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I feel so amazing. And he's very skilled at getting you endorphin psychology, the music. It's a whole performance. So they're extremely skilled at this. Like one of the guys I learned from, he was one of Tony Robbins' best sailors. And so Tony performs and he will rehearse that stuff all the time. So they're great at getting you moving in your body, the psychology, but it's also, it feels amazing. And then you're breaking these patterns. I would do this sometimes with people with a pattern. I would literally get a piece of paper out if they had this like a loop in their head. And I would say, write that down. And I would say, rip that fucking paper in half. And it's not logical, but it's breaking their pattern. And so sometimes I just want to break their pattern and just insert a new possible pattern. I'm like, hey, can I give you an alternative possibility that you're open to? And so I would learn a lot of these tricks from Tony too. He's like a master at breaking patterns. And no one's the same too as well. That's the fun part of it. So like each new person comes in, even when we do like accountability calls, I actually still love calling people. I call a ton of people each week doing these accountability calls, what's working, what's not. And I get goosebumps when they're telling me this is the best I've ever felt in a long time.
Yes.
because also that gets me out of my own head and whatever I think I may be going through too as well. And that gives me space for myself too. Because I think if we're always thinking about ourselves or focused on ourselves, it's not necessarily, you want to have time for that. But also, I don't want to be too identified with what's going on in my head too as well. So that goes back to the question of like being diversified too as well. So I like sharing with different people's energy too. That gives me energy source too. They did all the hard work. The Tin Man got the oil, but I helped them along the yellow brick road into the Emerald City. And I love that. And it re-energizes me each time that happens.
You said you like to travel. How many countries have you been to?
She's like close to 30. Yeah. I'm addicted to travel.
As advice to a person that may not have traveled, what does traveling do for one?
Wow. So I think what I notice, you will notice, like if you go into San Francisco, I love San Francisco. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. Yeah. Let's not even pick on San Francisco. Any city, there's people, and this happens to me, I'm sure it happens to you. You're walking around the same street you've done like for 100 times in a row. You're not fully engaged.
No. You're on autopilot.
You're on autopilot. And my thought process is because it's like a browser, it's already cached the experience. So it's your brain is like, oh yeah, we already know this. When you travel, it's like time traveling. It's a portal. So if you're in a new city, I've been to Portugal. I was in Lisbon and Lagos. Now I'm going to the Porto. And so when you travel, everything is new. So your neuromuscular system is firing 100%. Because it's like, oh my God, new. It's taking in all the stimulus and it wants to figure out, is this safe? Is this fun?
Yeah, there's a little bit of fear now.
There's a little bit of fear. And so it's so insane. Like 2 days can feel like 2 weeks. And so your brain is firing so much because every new place you go to, every new cafe, every new garden you go to, every new person you meet is new. And your brain is like just taking it in. So there's a massive amount of like neurons just firing. And it's an adventure because you're in a cobblestone city. There's different women, so there's different accents too as well. And then each place I go to, I love meeting new friends too as well. And so it's new experiences. So everything's new. So it almost like reboots your computer and you download a new fun software program.
So you've done that reboot 30 times.
Oh, I've done it a bunch of times and it's addicting, man. You learn. My parents are immigrants, so that's part of the reasons I travel too. And so I love just going somewhere else where I have no idea what the culture is like. I'm just figuring it out. And sometimes you get in situations where you're in a dangerous place. Like I've been some dangerous places in South Africa. Like,
you're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it's great. Did a safari, rode an ostrich, walked with lions, did a bunch of stuff. I went to Robben Island to visit, where Nelson Mandela was in prison for like 25 years.
Oh, shit.
So I've done a bunch of stuff, but like, yeah, Johannesburg is the carjack capital of the world.
Did you get carjacked?
We thought we almost got carjacked twice.
Oh, wow.
So even the locals, they say, all right, don't drive at night because of the... So when I first got there, don't get me wrong, I love South Africa, a beautiful country, but, certain areas there's crime. And so I remember flying there, got there a day early from my friend. I'm in Cape Town and it's 1 a.m. And on the freeway sign, it literally says this: do not stop, excessive crime area. It didn't say regular crime, it said excessive crime
There's
area.
signs on...
Yeah.
Like street signs.
A digital sign on top of the freeway.
Whoa,
I'll never forget. It said excessive crime area.
Wow.
And so I'm there, my buddies like a day late in Paris. And I love the country. Everyone should go to South Africa. It's amazing. Cape Town. And you go to the tourist areas.
Just don't stop at night with excessive crime.
Yeah, don't stop there. But any tourist areas, it's very safe. They protect it because that's their economy. So if you go to tourist areas, you're very well protected. But there are times where we're driving and like on the way to Joburg, they said, look, you should have space between you and the car in front of you. And we were like, why? I was like, it's the carjack capital. And we did research. So there's a few times where people got out and it would like come to our car and like the heart rate was going up. But luckily nothing happened. But it gives you perspective driving through some of South Africa and you see what real poor is like.
Oh yeah.
You see with like real like slums, like shacks. And so it does give you a perspective of like we are pretty lucky to win the lotto. And I'm grateful for my parents that immigrated over here.
That's why I was telling a lot of people like America, they're like, oh, I'm from the hood. I'm like, you may be from the hood, but you're lucky you're not from the slums.
Dude, the slums is the slums is like
because I'm Filipino.
Yeah.
Manila has some of the craziest slums in the world.
I've seen them on YouTube. Yeah.
And so, yeah, when people say I'm from the hood, I always tell them, you're just lucky you're not from the slums because those people are living that's the happiest life that they can in their situation. And they're trying to be better. And then we have people here in America that they may not live in Beverly Hills, but they're just playing the victim card.
Oh, dude, the victim card. Oh, it's so brutal. And I'm grateful that I'm Salvadorian. My mom's from El Salvador.
Okay.
The father that raised me is from India. And so I got an Indian last name.
El Salvador, they did crazy, radical things to clean up their country right now.
When I was growing up and I had all my Salvadorian and Guatemalan relatives around me, all I knew El Salvador was the murder capital of the world.
Yeah.
San Salvador was the murder capital of the world. I remember my mom going there maybe like 25 years ago, and she came back and she said, yeah, we had bodyguards with machine guns. So I'm not going there. And so it's been a radical place change, but it's the safest place.
Now it is.
And people are happy. My cousin she visited us from Guatemala. She spent most of her time in San Salvador. And I asked her, I was like, because she's right next door and she goes back and forth. I'm like, is it really safe? She's like, yeah, it's safe. It's actually safe now.
Yeah. I watched some documentaries.
Yeah.
And it's extreme.
Yeah.
But from the 30, 40 years of hell what the citizens went through.
Yeah.
To just physically go outside now and not worry about getting murdered, shot, kidnapped, robbed, extorted. Like, they're living this life that they never thought would exist.
Yeah, and the guy, I will eventually meet him. I want to meet him too. I think some family members know him, but he also talked about the incentives, and he gave like a short little story about, all right, if you incentivize the criminals and you don't put them away, all right, what about that 18-year-old kid? He works, 8 hours selling fruit, and then he gets robbed by this person. And then he learns he could just do one crime and earn all this money. He's incentivized to not work a clean job. He's incentivized to do crime. And so now he's flipped it. He's saying, all right, I'm de-incentivizing crime. If you do bad crime, you're going to go away for a long time.
That was probably going to be a very unpopular opinion of what I'm about to say. That's what happened in San Francisco the past 10 years.
Dude. Yeah, I agree with you. And for somebody born and raised in San Francisco, I think it went too extreme. It just did. And I look at it like my analogy for all this.
Very unpopular opinion by saying that.
Yeah.
But you like San Francisco, Oakland, Gotham City.
It's Gotham City. And it's not like we want to say this. I love San Francisco. Like I was born on Army Street, which is now Cesar Chavez Street in the Mission District.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't want to say this it's improved a little, but my analogy for this whole thing is like a bowling alley. You have the left gutter, you have the right gutter. And the ball ideally should stay out of the left and right gutters, the extreme left and right gutters.
Yeah.
And depending on where the pins are, that's where you should throw the pins. Sometimes you got to throw them a little to the right. Sometimes they got to be in the middle. Sometimes a little to the left. And who knows what those terms mean anywhere? Because sometimes those get confused, right?
Yes.
But I'll give an example. I go to Poland. I used to go to Ukraine a lot.
Yeah.
Ukraine used to be my second home. So before people had all these Ukraine profile pictures, I was actually walking the streets of Kyiv. I can walk the streets of Kyiv, find my way around without a Google map.
Oh, that is your second home.
That was my second home, you know, with all this stuff going on. But you look at, I just came back from Warsaw. I've been there several times now. You know, Poland, Warsaw has been my second home. It's 2 million people in Warsaw, close to 2 million people. It is one of the cleanest, safest places I've ever been in my life. 2 million people.
Why is that? Accountability?
Accountability of their policies. They don't put up with what I feel is like suicidal empathy. Yes, have compassion. Yes, have empathy, but not at the expense of people that just want to live their lives and raise families. Not at the expense of that. There is a middle ground, right? There's a middle ground where it's like, yeah, there's a military industrial complex and it's privatized and it's kind of sick, right? There's that extreme on one side. But the other extreme is, all right, it's not safe for people to actually want to walk down the street in the Mission District or in certain places. And so to answer your question, they're unapologetic. They say, look, if you're a criminal, we're going to put you in jail. If you do things openly on the streets, we're going to put you in jail. And routinely in Warsaw, you'll see women by themselves walking down the street at like 12 at night, 1 a.m. Obviously, they probably still have fear, but it's different from the fear you have in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
It's different. And I'm telling you, it's clean and safe. And if they can do that, like what's going on with us? I'm not smart enough to have the answers.
I'm not smart enough to have the answer, but obviously one of the leads to fixing the answer is accountability.
Yeah. Accountability. That's one of the things my father taught me. My dad's from India. And that's another reason I love travel, because I was raised by immigrants. Mm-hmm. And so he would say like, all right, Americans always talk about freedom, as they should.
Yes.
They need to talk about responsibility too, and accountability too as well.
And that's big on people from foreign countries.
Yeah.
Because a lot of foreign countries' policies, it's like, fuck around and find out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, fuck around and find out. And it's like for too long in San Francisco, people have been fucking around and not finding out.
Yeah.
And it's come at the expense. I even saw something like a few years ago where there's certain people like in Pack Heights or certain neighborhoods, they're hiring their own security. You know, in Cape Town, I don't know if this is true 100%, but there's barbed wires everywhere. That I know. But there's a large contingent of people. Well, there's not enough police around where they hire private security.
Yeah.
When your city is getting to the point where people have to hire their own security, that's a problem, you know? So again, I don't know.
It's also a deterrent.
It's a deterrent too as well.
Like in the Philippines, all the major malls and a lot of like restaurants, even like high-risk place now, there's people outside with shotguns.
Yeah.
And it's not like America. It's if they have a good reason,
yeah,
they will use it.
Oh, yeah.
And the government will be backing them up.
Yeah.
It's not like California, someone breaks into your damn house, you do something about it, and you're at fault.
It's completely inverted upside down world. And it reminds me of...
I don't know how California got... like, that is one of the stupidest rules that exists.
It's insane. Look, if one... and it goes for both sides of the aisle, right? Like, if one party feels like they don't have to do any work...
But you should be... I don't care if you're red, blue, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
You should be able to feel safe in your home.
Agreed. And I don't know. I think it is the suicidal empathy. I think it's the weaponized empathy, because not being able to feel safe is like one of the bedrocks of functional society. And so it reminds me of like a 1980s VH sci-fi movie of where it's like walking down the street And you see this insane. I remember I was dating this one Russian girl, and she hasn't been in the city in a while. I'm like, hey, let's go to the city. She lived in the South Bay. We take a ride on Mission. The first thing we see, two men. One dude's completely naked. I think smoking a joint, might even smoking something else. Completely naked. And like you go on Mission Street and you see the pipes, you know, with,
Oh yeah,
and it's
openly using like the tenderloin, crack
yeah, like
everywhere, needles everywhere, shit.
And it's like part of you is like, is this done on purpose? Like, what's going on? I don't have the answers, but like, that's not being tolerant to have little kids see that openly.
Yeah,
That's not tolerant. It's actually the complete opposite, you know? So it's very strange